Hey guys, welcome to the brand new show, Zanzibar. Um, Here, I like to, I love sports. Sports is my first love. I went to broadcasting school and I got a degree in journalism with an emphasis in sports broadcasting. So I've always been around sports. I've always loved sports. I wanted to do like play by play and be a sports reporter and everything. So, and I kind of got away from all that stuff. But I kind of found my way back to it. So, doing the paranormal stuff. As most of you know, everybody here in chat so far is on my Paranormal Among Us show as well. But you know what? I thought I would give this a go as well and do a second show and do this. This is what I love to do. I love to do both, and the paranormal stuff isn't going away. I just want to add this little challenge to my to my show schedule. So anyway, thank you all for being here. I greatly appreciate you. Sinfully Wicked, appreciate you being here. Pam, I appreciate you. Little Patty. I thought there was somebody else in here. Nope. And we also have a few that aren't in chat, so I appreciate that. Growing pains too. This is going to start out small, but we'll get there, and we're just here to have fun, and that's what sports is fun, and everybody has a different opinion about things. So, but anyway, we had a big weekend in sports. Wild card, not the wild card, division rounds in the NFL playoffs. Four exciting games. Three exciting games and one kind of a blowout. Not really a blowout, but wasn't terribly close. But the other ones, fantastic finishes, great games to watch. A lot of snow, and I like watching snow games too. And then, not to mention the NFL playoffs, we had the national championship game last night. Ohio State against Notre Dame. And what a game that was. And we're going to get into that here in a little bit. Sinfully, your Lions. And I know those of you that are with the paranormal world, BMR and his Lions, I had them going to the Super Bowl, and I was hoping that they would make it. But the Texans, man, they stepped up and they played good. But you know what? We're going to talk about that here a little bit later on. But first, let's talk national championship football, college football. The first ever 12-team playoff, and Ohio State took care of business down in Atlanta. So right now, I want to bring up my brother from another mother, my buddy, Kyle Goodnight. How you doing, brother? Kyle, you're muted.
When I move my microphone, there's a mute button on my microphone. I hit it every time. They put it in the worst spot. Put it in the worst spot. Nice little microphone, but put that mute button in the wrong spot.
That's right.
What's that? What they say? The number one thing that is ever spoken on any type of streaming nowadays is you're on mute.
Yeah.
So what?
We can't hear you.
Yeah. So what is up, the Buckeyes?
You are
crazy last night.
I was watching the game. He's in Columbus. I'm in St. Louis. I was watching the game at home. My dogs were on the couch with me. My wife was sitting on the couch sleeping, watching her show on her computer. So I was watching it by myself. I was texting you back and forth a couple times. What an amazing game that was.
Incredible. I mean,
yeah.
I went to the Tennessee game. And that was incredible. I mean, first time we've ever had a game in December in the shoe. It was freaking cold, but I wanted to be there. I wanted to be a part of it. And a buddy of mine invited me. Shout out to John Matthew. He's the man. He invites me to a lot of football games during the year. And it was incredible. And that, you're so nervous after playing, that team up north. And having the issues that we had on that game day, not being able to function properly at all.
Yeah.
Our coaches not being able to function. And,
Yeah.
the cold then, froze their brains, I think, and didn't allow them to make better decisions. So, as most Buckeyes will tell you, Tennessee showed up. I mean, I was kind of proud of them in that factor. I've been to Ohio State games. I've been to one national championship, went back in 2002, and we took over that area. Hell, one time we were supposed to go to the national championship back in the 90s, and we got beat like right before we would have gone. Had my plane tickets. Me and my buddy went out there, and there was tons of Ohio State fans you know, at a Tennessee versus Florida State game. There was still a ton of Ohio State people representing, wearing their colors and everything. So Ohio State travels. So to have someone descend on other than a Michigan group or like a big game, even when we play like normal season big games, I've never seen the people show up ever. Even Michigan fans don't show up like Tennessee showed up. That was very impressive. We partied at the Varsity Club, which is a big popular bar there on campus, a couple blocks away from the stadium, and I bet you they outnumbered us at the bar, and they were doing their and it was what was so fun about that game was we were all so joyful with each other. We gave each other shit. We talked, we razzed them, but the one common denominator is we could say "Roll Tide" to them, and they were like, "Oh," we're like, "Yeah, we hate Alabama." So like anytime, and actually we didn't say "Roll Tide." We said what does that commercial say? High tide, high tide,
High tide, high tide, high
and then
tide.
they thought that was hilarious when we started saying high tide. And even like in the stadium, everybody, at least for me, in my point of view, nobody ever got out of hand. Even after the game, Tennessee fans came up and be like, "Hey guys, win it all. You guys really did a good job today." I mean, it was very respectful. We were very welcoming. We did tell them have a safe trip home, and and sang the "Na Na Na Na" song. Goodbye.
Well, you got to.
But that game was incredible. And then we played, Oregon and just demolished them. I was nervous. I mean, every game, I'm always nervous for a Buckeye game. It doesn't matter. But then once I saw what we did to Tennessee and Oregon, and then Texas was going to be now essentially our first big test, and then Notre Dame was a test, and Notre Dame was truly a test, especially late in the game.
I kept saying that, especially after the Oregon game, I was worried about it too. I mean, Oregon came into the horseshoe down there, and they let you guys have it. And no, did you go up? You went up to Oregon.
Well, yeah,
Oregon.
Yeah, never mind. Regular season, we played in regular season in Oregon.
Yeah,
and it was a close game. We lost on that last second decision to try to stop the clock and whatever. I mean, so it was a. I
got the venues wrong, I think, but
no problem.
But I mean, it's hard, especially in the top ranked, highly ranked teams in college football. It's hard to beat the same team twice. Especially teams of Ohio State and Oregon's caliber and all that stuff. But after the Oregon game, I really thought the national championship game was the Ohio State Texas game. I think both of those two teams were very, very good.
Right.
They controlled the whole season. They controlled the games that they played in, and it was just. I was expecting that one to be a very close, tight game, but you guys kicked
our defense. Our defense did. Our defense, that won us that game. Them trying to get into the end zone. How many? There was 2 different pass interferences that gave them, first and goal inside the 1-inch line, and then we tackled their sweep, and got pushed them back to the 6-yard line, and then they threw an incomplete pass that we were pressuring the quarterback, the roommates, because they were the 33, Sawyer, he was roommate with
their quarterback,
with Brewers back when he was a freshman, and so then for him to come out from the outside and strip that ball, pick it up, and the ball was bouncing really. If you don't remember that night, the ball was bouncing in favor of whoever dropped it. So I remember Quinn Ewers dropped it once, and it bounced right back into his hands and stuff. So it was really weird that the football gods were shining down on football drops last night to go into the right hands at the right time for each player. So for us to make a defensive play and for it to bounce into our hands, it bounced right. I mean, perfectly right into Jack's hands, and then he's rumbling, bumbling, stumbling,
almost blacking out too on his way down to the end zone. But let's talk about last night's game. I know you guys were nervous before the game, and then for Notre Dame to come in, hey Mickey G, for Notre Dame to come in and pretty much just march right down the field on the first drive. I kept thinking, man, this is going to be a high scoring, tight, back and forth game.
Yeah, I did too. We were watching the Blue Jackets because the Blue Jackets were playing at the same time. They scheduled it together, not knowing we'd be in the championship. So we had two TVs going at the house, and my wife and I were both big hockey fans, as you are. I can see your Blues behind you on the TV there. We're big hockey fans like you guys, and so I brought down the second TV, put up the Blue Jackets, and we were watching the Blue Jackets on both TVs. And because she looks at and I'm going to throw her under the bus a little bit here, she's not going to be happy, but she's like, "Oh, it showed in the guide on the TV that the game starts at 8." And I'm like, "Yeah, I thought it was 7:30." She's like, "No, it says 8." I'm like, "Okay, fine." So we'll watch the hockey game it came on a weird time for East Coast. It's 7:30. Usually it comes on at 7 on East Coast games. And we're sitting there watching the TV, and they get a message. She gets a message from, I think, her mom and dad about, "Are you guys watching the game?" And she's like, "Oh, it doesn't come on till 8." They're like, "No, it's on now." We switched over. It's already like 2-3 minutes into the game. And I'm like, "We missed kickoff?" I'm like, right then I was worried. Like, I make it it's a habit for me to always at least watch the kickoff of any Ohio State game, because I don't know, call me, call me weird, but if I don't see the kickoff, it makes me think we're not going to win. And luckily I had to shove those thoughts out of my brain. Yeah, superstitious stuff. So that all, I mean, we didn't undecorate the house from Christmas because I'm like, listen, we've been winning football games with all of our decorations up. Let's leave all the decorations up. So there's so we have our Christmas tree rolling. We have all our stockings still up. Now it gets to come down later this week, but yeah. I'm like, I told her we were getting ready to take things down about 3 or 4 days ago. I'm like, let's just leave it up. I think we need to leave it up for the Buckeyes. Let's not change anything.
Hey,
we got to wear
yeah. At least you guys showered. You were able to shower in between games. I mean, this isn't an in-person thing, but I appreciate that. But I was actually on another. I was doing a Zoom call at the start of the game, so I wasn't able to. And I promised somebody that I would do it, and completely forgetting about the game starting. And I'm like, oh shoot! And so I'm on the Zoom call, sitting on my couch with my iPad, watching the Zoom call, and I had the TV going with the football game on, muted. So I'm like, I really want to know what's going on, but I didn't have the heart to get off that show. But yeah, I mean,
great game. When they marched down, just kind of go back to that, their quarterback expelled a lot of energy. He ran that ball 9 times during that drive, and he had 65 of his 75 yards on that drive. And he even went over and he said he puked because he landed on the ball and he was exhausted. He ended up throwing up on the sidelines. And I think and he didn't really kind of catch his breath per se until when they started making their comeback, late in the third quarter. So that helped us to really shut them down. They didn't have anything once they had that first drive. After that, the whole second quarter was ours, and the whole first half of the third quarter was ours as well. And then they started doing back and forth, and then we were marching it down again. And just like we knew that Notre Dame does, they are the number 1 team in college football for turnovers. And they punched that ball out on one of our runners who had the ball held what I thought was pretty good. They just hit it perfect, and it popped out and turned it over. And then that ended up being some points. So, that's what I was a little scared of in the end. It's never over until like you said last night when you sent it, like, go ahead, fat lady, start singing. So, but yeah. So
and I think I sent that a little bit too early, and I got a little worried.
Yeah.
That I sent that too soon. And, because the saying is, the game's over, the fat lady is singing. So I sent him a picture of a meme of a fat lady warming up or whatever. And I think it was a little too soon. And after that, I'm like, oh God, because they made a game of it at the end, and they missed a fourth.
They had so Notre Dame missed a 4th down conversion. Then they tried to get a field goal at one point in time and going to that. But it was one of those things where I felt that the Buckeyes started to get conservative again. and like they're
Yep.
running up the middle. They're doing some quarterback runs with no yardage. They kind of started playing clock, right? And I understand that because with the new rules with the 5-minute clock and how it runs and it never really stops. That's beneficial. Whoever has the ball during that time frame, because if they can get down and score in that time frame, and especially if we're going up by 2 touchdowns or more, they're just not, it's going to be really hard in a 2-minute drill to get 2 plus touch or major scores. So when we were at 3rd and long and then we caught that Will Howard threw that ball to Jeremiah Smith, I pretty much knew it was over. And my wife's like, it's not over yet. And I'm like, honey, it kind of is, because we have a new fresh set of downs. We have 40 seconds every time for the play clock. I'm like, we can, it's running and we can get it. So once again, throwing her under the bus, she doesn't math very well. So I'm like, even if, after, and then she's like, why are we doing this? Why are we just running and not doing it? I'm like, we're running out the clock, honey. It is good coaching. It is management of the clock, because you can't win a game if there's no time left on the clock.
Right.
And she's like, why aren't we going for the end zone here? I'm like, first of all, we don't want to turn it over. Second of all, we don't want to throw an interception. And third of all, if we can manage it, we're on the 10-yard line. We can kick. Those are chip shots typically for most kickers in this level. Yeah. And we can, it'll get to the point where we're kicking the field goal with 28 seconds left. That'll take some time off the clock. Even if they get the ball back at 25 seconds left, they have to score. Now that we're up 11 points, they have to score twice, which means a Hail Mary on play number 1 and a touchdown. Like, because that kind of play is going to take about 9 to 15 seconds. And now you're going to be down to 15 seconds. Now you're going to be 10 to 15 seconds left if it even was successful. I'm like, I'm not saying it's not possible, because it is. We've seen some amazing things over the years. I mean, the Auburn-Alabama game, when that guy returned that kickoff, I was watching that live, and that was probably one of the coolest comebacks ever.
That's probably one of my favorite endings.
Yeah, like that was, and that was just a football game. It wasn't even a championship, but it was one of those things where yes, it can happen, but the percentages are so like 0.000000001 chance that it's going to happen. Yeah. So of course I didn't start super celebrating until the time clicked off the clock. But when I did do my celebration, give me a chance to kiss the trophy here.
So I have to bring this up here. So my buddy Simply Wicked, hubby and I are both Lions fans. He is University of Michigan fan, and she is a Buckeye fan. So
nice. House divided. I did see in one of your chats someone says, I don't watch football except for the Chiefs. Trust me, we're going to get into the Chiefs.
Yeah,
got a little problem with the Chiefs.
Oops, little Patty. Yeah,
I don't have a problem with. I don't have a problem with the Chiefs. I have a problem with the refs in the Chiefs.
We'll get into that here in a little bit. And I was hoping Tex was supposed to be here. I was hoping that he would come on. And I want to any chance I get to kind of rag on the Cowboys and Jerry Jones, I usually take it. And he was going to come on. We were going to talk about that, but I'm not sure where Tex is. But anyway, what number championship is this for you guys?
9.
I thought it was double digits.
No, we're not double digits yet. We've been in double digit championship games, but we weren't winners. So we've been, I think we're 10 or 11 championship games, but ultimately this is our 9th win. So, 2002, well, you have to think. So I'm 52 years old. I was born in 1972. So I didn't have a championship when I lived. Yeah, same as you. That's why we're brothers from another mother. Right. But, you got to think our last championship was like before I was born was like 68, right around there. So then 72, we had great teams. We had Woody. We had great teams under Earl Bruce. We had great teams under under Cooper, but he just couldn't beat Michigan, which back then, if you didn't beat Michigan, you didn't go to the next level. You didn't get ranked high until they introduced the BCS and then the playoffs. So by the time, I didn't see my first championship game, and luckily I went to it down in Arizona, was 2002 when we beat Miami. And I always like to say that we ruined the Miami Hurricanes because they haven't been since.
That's exactly. Speaking of not being able to beat Michigan, Ron Day has not been able to beat Michigan since he's been the head coach there.
Yeah, Ryan Day has not beat Michigan, except for the one year where they forfeited because of COVID. which isn't really, that's not a win. It's just a
Don't count
forfeit.
that.
So
Yeah.
yeah, don't count that. So yeah, it's a thorn in his side. I'm now living the reality of winning a national championship but not beating Michigan, our biggest rival. So
Mhm.
there, that always, brings up the question: what would you rather do, beat Michigan or win a national championship? I'm telling you right now, with this new football playoff system, we've got to our mindset's got to be a little bit different. At this point, yes, there is still a hole missing from beating Michigan and on honestly running the table like that. You used to have to run the table to essentially be in the championship for the most part. Um, over the last few years with playoffs, even the 14 playoff, that was proven that you don't have to win all your games to play. We got in, they beat us, Michigan beat us, and we still got into the 14 playoff. That was the
Mhm.
year that we missed the last second field goal against Georgia. We make that field goal and we go play TCU and we wipe them clean just like Georgia wiped them clean,
Mhm.
and we would have had a ninth championship then. But
Mhm.
we missed a field goal, so it is what it is.
Mhm.
But Michigan beat us that year too. So yes, it's now. I remember I grew up through the John Cooper years where he only tied Michigan once. He only had one almost, it was back when ties were a thing.
Yeah.
And I remember we rushed the field on a tie. Right, because we hadn't won anything against John Cooper. So
Yeah.
it's one of those things or not against John Cooper, but with John Cooper. So if I survive the 11 years of John, or however long it was, John Cooper years, and then
Mhm.
we had 11 years of wins with Urban Meyer and Tressel. I was at the Michigan game this year down on campus, and I remember walking away from where we watched the game, because I didn't go into the game, but we watched it from an outdoor bar. And I remember walking back to my car, and there was this girl, like college girl, like up in the face of a Michigan fan. I'm like, we're not doing this. And she's like, what do you mean? Those guys? I'm like, no. I survived the John Cooper years. This is only 4 years. We had 11 years of reign over them. I'm like, relax. It's all
Yeah.
cyclical, It sucks. Yes, it does. And we've
Yeah.
had way better teams this year, especially way better team than Michigan ever thought of having this year. And
Yeah.
we shit the bed in coaching. And
Mhm.
they owned up to it. I'm a firm believer in forgiveness of people that own up to their mistakes. They owned up to it. They rectified it. They fixed it, and it showed against the Tennessee, the Oregon Ducks, and Texas. And
Mm.
honestly, it kind of showed how we played, at least for half of the game against Notre Dame. We started playing
Yeah.
conservative at the end,
Last half.
but when it counted, we made it work.
And quite honestly, especially with the with my Blues there for the longest time, it would seem like whenever we would have a big lead, and you get this a lot in hockey as well.
Oh yeah,
When you get a big lead, you just sit back and you play defense the whole time, and no one
yeah.
ever
No one
thinks about
plays offense
attacking.
or
Yeah,
aggressive,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
So I mean, I guess it's easier said than done, but you don't want to take unnecessary risks. But you gotta put the metal down and knock these teams out. They're going to fight back. So I mean, you got to come up with a way that. And here I am. I'm just a idiot podcaster who talking about football here. But you got to find a way to keep the pressure on them, yet keep it somewhat conservative and not go crazy with it and
Yeah.
try and lose the ball, get them back in the game. But if you get too conservative with it, like what almost happened last night and what's happened so much in sports, especially last year to the Lions, maybe.
Oh,
Yeah,
the
you
Lions. I'm
you
so
sit back
disappointed.
and
Yeah,
yeah,
for someone who's a diehard Buckeye and being able to root for Dan Campbell and the Lions and how bad they've been, they I don't know. They had one of those Michigan football game days, where they came in to play a team that was very beatable,
mhm,
who has an incredible quarterback, mind you, but
mhm.
they were definitely, they were number one seed. They were number one seed,
Well, I was
on that
talking about
division.
last year when they were
Oh,
in
oh,
San Francisco and they
yeah,
had a
yeah, yeah.
17-point lead at halftime and ended up losing the game. But
Right.
still, this year, um, I mean, I had them going to the Super Bowl. I had them winning the Super Bowl. I actually had them winning the Super Bowl over, okay, Mickey and Lil Patty, cover your ears, over
The Chiefs.
the Bills, over the
Oh, the
Bills.
Bills.
Yeah, I had them winning over the Bills.
Did you hear that, did you hear the announcement today?
What happened?
that there's already been a roughing the passer call against Patrick Mahomes.
You know, I catch a lot of grief about, I in Missouri. The Chiefs are in Missouri on the other side of the state from me. They keep saying, how can you root for the Chiefs? How can you not root for the Chiefs? I'm like, you know what? I rooted for them, for a while. They're a good team. I do like them. Oh, Mickey. I do like them, but they've won 2 in a row. They've been so good for so long. Not saying anything bad about them, but in my mind, it's time for somebody else to come along and win the Super Bowl, get in the Super Bowl for that matter.
Yeah, I'm actually rooting for the Commanders. I really am. Washington Commanders. I think it'd be a great for that freshman, well, that rookie to do good. I'm totally team Commanders right now.
Yeah.
Or Bills. I'd be fine with the Bills. Anybody but the Chiefs. For the love of God, I'm done with the Chiefs.
We're gonna get some hate mail for that. No,
You have to
it
understand,
is.
I also have a soft spot for the Chiefs because my mom and dad, back when they first got married, before my was even invented, they lived across the street from the practice facility in Kansas City. So they, back in the day in the 60s and early 70s, before I was born, they knew people from the Chiefs. So the Chiefs have always had a soft spot for me. But you got to remember, when I was growing up, it was Steelers, Steelers, Steelers. I'm a Steelers fan, and we had the steel curtain. We had 4 championships in 5 years. It was incredible to be a Steelers fan back then. But I always pulled for the Chiefs because, one, they were so horrible for so long after they had their reign back in the 60s. I mean, they were irrelevant in the 80s and the 90s, and only started becoming relevant once they got Patrick Mahomes, in my opinion.
So, okay, little Patty.
I feel picked on. That's okay, Patty.
I have to say, the Chiefs defense is, in my opinion, second to none in the playoffs right now. Even when the playoffs started, they're second to none. Steve Spagnuolo is, in my opinion, one of the best defensive coordinators around. He's a terrible head coach. He was a head coach here for the Rams when they were here for a little bit, but he was absolutely horrible here. But yeah, I think whoever the Chiefs play, they got to play against the defense and the refs.
And the refs, yeah.
Sorry, Patty. But that game, was it Sunday night? Whenever that is, the Chiefs against the Bills. I don't know about that one. I can see either team going. The Chiefs, I think they have more weapons than the Bills. But I don't know. Josh Allen is a damn good quarterback.
Yeah, he is. And I'm fine with Josh getting a Super Bowl. That'd be cool. At least one less Super Bowl for Patrick Mahomes. But the thing is like when Patrick Mahomes, it's one of those things. It's just like when people don't like the Buckeyes because we're so good for so long. You know what I mean? It's just it's just one of those things where like the Penguins. We all hate the Penguins because they were good for so long. And Patrick and Crosby is just such an amazing player. And you just hate them just because they're so good. They reign over things, and you eventually start to not like that. And I can respect what the Patriots did and how many Super Bowls Tom Brady had, and more power to him. He's the GOAT, right? I didn't like it during the time. I didn't like it when he was beating my Steelers. You know what I mean? But I look back on it now, and I respect that we have players like those two that are generational, and they're slippery, and they're geniuses when it comes to football plays and what they can do, and I respect that. But on the other hand, it's like there's also a lot of really other good deserving players during these times of reigns. And and I'm kind of, other than for my own teams, I'm always an underdog. I'm typically rooting for the underdog and even if of course, I didn't root for the underdogs against us, but because you never do that. But
No,
but
no.
yeah, you tune into a game, you don't really have skin in the game. You're like, let's root for the underdog. Everybody likes an underdog story.
Mhm.
Everybody likes to see the little guy beat up on the big guy or conquer over the big guy.
And I always get a little trouble whenever I wear my Ohio State jacket to work. If it's really cold, I got a really big, thick Ohio State jacket, and of course I have an Ohio State hat. And I always get, what are you wearing that for? Why Ohio State? Like, well, I tell them I got family out there, and that was my first college football game when you took me down to I think they were played Bowling Green.
Yeah.
And I mean, what a freaking atmosphere that was.
Oh,
How can you not like it? Yeah.
I mean, you got to think this stadium behind me here, that's 105 plus every Saturday, no matter who you're playing.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah, and
doesn't
it gets
matter.
Bowling Green too. I mean,
Yeah, exactly. You're looking at small MAC school, and you're filling it with fans. And to put that in perspective, for those that may be listening and think, oh my gosh, well, that's nothing like the pros. No, I'm sorry, it is, because even like the big stadium in the pros, they're only fitting 80 to 90,000 people.
Yeah, and one thing that I don't understand is the Horseshoe. That's been there forever. Michigan Stadium's been there forever. A lot of these college football stadiums have been around for
we've been around for over 100 years.
A long, long time. Yeah. You get new football in the NFL. You get new stadiums every 20, 30 years.
Yeah, they're thinking about building a new one in Denver, I heard.
Already? They just built one.
Yeah, 25 years ago, they're trying to build a new one. Yeah.
Yeah. That's just crazy. I don't see. Well, I guess the pros have all the luxury suites and all that stuff where, I mean, looking behind you, you don't really see too many luxury suites.
No.
The boxes back there.
There are, if you're just not this angle, you're not really seeing them. Our luxury seats are right in here, this whole area right here.
Oh, up on top up there?
Yeah, it's on top. That's where our luxury seating is. They took away B deck up there, and then we've got some box. Yeah. So that's what happened. They sunk our field down 14 feet and then put what would be a CC, which was make this part right here from about here up going towards the light. I'm sorry, I'm backwards. But like the old stadium stops about where you see where that is right there. The old stadium's at the top of that. So everything going this way is all new. So that's what they kind of considered CC deck. And then they put an AA deck down in here. And from the old stadium used to be about where my thumb is there. And then they built down into the stadium and took away the track. So even with all of that expansion, and then of course, South Stands expanded. And so even with all of that, with the boxes that they made in B deck, which is all, and those would be right down in here. This is all B deck all the way around the stadium. So right to about here is boxes. So all of those boxes that got made on that home side really took away numbers. And even adding the extra up and down and South Stands, it's still, I think we had a net of only 5,000 seats. But we're I think we've had as many as 106, maybe 108 at the most. I know Michigan is bigger. I think
Notre Dame's bigger, I think.
I think it's Michigan. The top four: Michigan, Tennessee, Texas, and Penn State. I don't know how many Notre Dame holds. Yeah,
I thought okay, but that just blows my mind. That, I mean, they can figure out a way to keep those stadiums going for decades.
Yep.
But after 20, 30 years, maybe Lambeau Field, Soldier Field. I'm trying to think of some of the older Arrowhead Stadium. They might be the exceptions that they keep them around for a long time. And I mean, even at Mizzou here in Missouri, I mean, it was just, stands on both sidelines going up, but now one end is completely closed in with stands going up. And I know they're going to, if you're familiar with Mizzou Stadium, they have that big M in the end zone with rocks all around it, are made out of rocks.
Yeah.
And a grass behind the end zone. They're going to fill that in with seats and kind of build up from there. So you're going to have pretty much an enclosed stadium all around. So, I mean, that'll be cool maybe to get Mizzou up there with the big guys. and stuff.
Yeah, and I was hoping Mizzou would come in the Big Ten, and then of course we shit the bed against them last year in the in the bowl game. But the bowl games are if they're not the championship games, the bowl games are almost useless anymore, uh, because so many people opt out, and that was the case with us against you guys. We just had so many
Yeah.
people opt out.
Yeah. And, I certainly enjoyed it because I liked bragging a little bit that Mizzou beat Ohio State.
Oh, of course, yeah, yeah, and I congratulated last year. I mean, I'm like, you might as well live it up when you can. I mean,
Yeah, no kidding.
full strength Ohio State's never going to have that chance. I shouldn't say never, but
No.
you had a good team last year, and you had some people missing too. But yeah, ultimately we were on our third string quarterback eventually because our second string quarterback got hurt in the first quarter. So.
Mm-hmm. One thing I wanted to ask, and I don't know if you know this answer, but with the playoff system the way it is now, so like you guys played in the Cotton Bowl, I believe it was, against Texas and stuff. Do you guys get the revenue from each bowl game that you played in?
I don't know all the details with that, but yeah, I think every team gets revenue of some sort for each game in the playoff series. Now you got to remember that first round when you play at home, whoever gets to win the hometown, you get the revenue for that, which is great. And I'm sure you share that with the school that you're there with. I'm sure Tennessee got a big fat check too. And Tennessee would have been because Tennessee Stadium is big too. So if it would have been at their stadium, we would have got a cut of their check. And they're very comparable when it comes to filling them up. But when it comes to the subsequent games, the next game after that first round is a bowl game on New Year's Day / New Year's Eve. So that's what's cool about that. And then after that, they're not really bowl games. They're just championship. They're just Final Four. So. Yeah. So it's kind of cool that way that, I'd like to see that they definitely change the who gets in and where they get in and who gets a bye. I don't believe that just because you're conference champion that you should get a bye. But, this year, everybody that got a bye lost. Everybody that was at a home field for the first round won. So, we'll start to see how this rolls out and how this plays out going forward, how that trickles out.
And look at that in the professional ranks too. I mean, yeah, Kansas City had a bye, but they won. I mean, look at Detroit.
Yeah,
they had a bye
at home.
and let me tell you, they needed that week off as depleted as their defense was, but they just didn't. For some reason, they just didn't. I don't know if they prepared well.
With that phenomenon of phenomena. No, phenomena. With that phenomena about that, at least for the let's go back to college. Is that time off beneficial, or do you want I mean, what is your thoughts on that?
I'm sorry.
When it comes to like when they have a bye and they're off they're not playing for a couple of weeks. Like I always felt that when we had the old bowl system and you stopped playing that first week of December, if you will, and then you didn't play until New Year's Day, both teams had 3-4 weeks off.
Yeah.
And now we have this bye for that first round, which is good to help heal your players or whatever. But is that too much time off to get?
I think it is, especially the way they used to do it in college football with, like you said, almost a month off. I could never understand how they could get back up for that, being away for that much. Practice is practice. You're not going to.
We're talking about practice.
You're not going to have the same intensity in practice as you would in a game. And I think after, 2-3 weeks, you're going to lose that.
Yeah.
And stuff. And even a week, it's good to get that rest. And especially, I'm talking about in for the Detroit Lions perspective, they were so beat up. I don't know if they got many of the players back for that game after that week. But, I mean, they were playing their second, third string guys for so much that, they needed that rest. But, I don't know if that took the wind out of their sails
right
much. And I really think they do. And I want to, I want to bring up this comment here. And I noticed this earlier. Everybody in the chat right now. I don't. There's more people watching. I don't know who's.
I can't see how many people are watching. That's one thing I don't
I
see.
got. I'm showing 11. I got
Okay.
11 watching.
11.
And I have how many in chat? 11 in chat. So all of the women, all of the people in chat are women. Not. I love it. I love you guys. I appreciate
Women
you
like
guys.
women like football too, Paul.
Yeah. Oh, there's Randy. Randy's in here.
Randy.
Oh, sorry, Randy. Yes, it's
Randy Watson. Everybody.
It's a new channel. Randy, you missed it. We were just talking about how good the Ohio State is, and when they beat Texas. Randy, Truth or Tinfoil, is a big Texas fan.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was like, he had me nervous though. But
Yeah.
and just for people that are listening, if you've noticed that I slip into like weird voices at times, I am a voiceover actor too. So that's just part of my personality, is something that hits my brain, and I'm ADHD. So if it hits my brain, I got to get it out. You know, Randy kind of reminds me of the Randy Watson from Coming to America. A Reverend Randy Watson.
Nice.
I know that's not Randy's last name, but it just, you have those.
It might be. It's not. But
well, like when I said phenomena, I just went into the
phenomena. I wish I could bring that. I wish I had that on here.
Probably find it on YouTube, but then you'd be, I don't know what that, all the rules about what you can do during live streams and what kind of music you can play.
But I'm not. This one isn't monetized. I'm not on my other channel. So this one's on a separate channel. Hell, I only have 38 subscribers.
Somebody in the chat Kyle does a great swearing Mickey. Master of Suitors. That's my buddy, Jason. Hi, everybody. Listen here, you Chiefs fans. You go fuck yourselves. And go out there and make me that money.
That was good.
Oh, I've had people call me up and be like, "Is Mickey there?" Hi, how are you?
Next time you should do the show in all Mickey voice.
Oh, that'd be tough on the voice.
Yeah, it would.
That'd be tough on that. Not as tough as Sling Blade. Sling Blade hurts my voice. I sure do like them French fry potatoes. Mm-hmm. Some people call it a Kaiser blade. I call it a Sling Blade. Mm-hmm.
You guys in chat know this, but we should get him, Kyle, on with Brent Thomas. Brent does a mean Homer Simpson.
Oh yeah, that's good. Hey, love you, Marge. You like that? Yeah. Hey, everybody.
Just like that. Just like that.
I'm not quite Seth. I'm not quite Seth. I can't go in and out of all kinds of voices, but I'm close.
Yeah. That's funny. That's funny. Who do you one game that I'm looking forward to this weekend is the old NFC East showdown of the Washington, Philadelphia. I still call them the Redskins. I don't like the name Commanders. That's
the Guardians. No, they're the Indians. No,
that's the stupidest name in football. The Commanders.
Well, they were the Washington Football Club for 1 year.
Yeah. Well,
we're not playing soccer, y'all.
Yeah. That's just because they didn't have time to come up with the name. And same thing with the Utah Hockey Club. I mean, they're not. I just checked in on the Blues. That's actually a replay of when the Blues won the Stanley Cup. So.
Oh, I remember that weekend. I was there. Remember, we traveled from the beach. We were down the beach when they won the championship, because it was in June, because hockey goes that long. We drove all day, almost all, it was like 15 hours from Myrtle Beach to St. Louis. And then you guys went down. Here? Yeah, remember? We came in because Carter had his hockey camp in St. Louis.
Oh, that's right. You weren't here for the game, though. You were here.
No, the game was 2 days before. We came, the day before. We came in the day after the game, and then you guys all went to the parade on our second day there. And I was like, man, I hope I get to have a parade someday for hockey.
Let me tell you that I don't know how many people they crowded downtown St. Louis, but somebody said 100,000 people. I had to have been more than that. Yeah. But I mean, we hadn't. Well, so the Blues started in '67. They went to the Stanley Cup Finals the first 2 years that they were in existence. But when the NHL expanded that year, those 2 years, all the expansion teams were in one division, all the established teams were in another. So the talent was out of
crazy.
control.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, and we were so good for so long, and then they finally win it in 19. I still, every time, whenever they get to the part where they raise the Stanley Cup, I always get emotional with that. I don't know why that is, but it just gets emotional to me.
So. Oh, I can't imagine. I mean, I've only imagined what I would feel like if the Blue Jackets won a championship, and won a cup, because I mean, I remember I was, once again, I was 2002, so I was right at 30 years old when Ohio State, who I've loved ever since I've known about football, and they're my number one sports team, period. Buckeyes over everything. Then it's a very close second when it comes to the Blue Jackets, and then we got the Steelers. That's how my hierarchy goes, and I don't care about baseball. But if I did have to care about baseball, you've kind of transformed me into a Cardinals fan, which is weird because I grew up a Reds fan, and they're rivals. So that's what's really weird. I kind of like both teams. So, but
as long as you don't like the Cubs, I'm fine. With that.
Screw the Cubs.
I'm fine.
Screw everything from Chicago. So, except for my friends that live in Chicago, I love all those guys. So,
actually, there is somebody in chat, not on this one, but on my other show. They're North California Cub fan. And very nice person. I don't know if it's male or female, so I'll say nice person. They actually, gave me a super sticker the other day for $10. So I mean, I had to thank a Cub fan. So that's
that's great.
Difficult for me to do, even hard to say it, but no, that was certainly appreciated, and turns out it's a very nice person. So
that's awesome.
Probably my favorite.
I've got friends that are Michigan fans too. I was happy for them last year when they won their championship, but because everybody should have that experience once in their life for their favorite team to have it all. And if you don't know what that feels like, I wish that on anybody, that their team will win at least once in their lifetime. And that's all we're, look at the Blues right now. Look at the Blue Jackets. I mean, the Blues they went from the last team in the league at the half for the All-Star game, and they came back and won the whole thing. That's like the biggest Cinderella story I've ever heard of, for the most part, and at least in hockey. That was incredible. And for you guys to be as big of fans as you are, and we were Blues fans before Blue Jackets came into town, so we have a soft spot for the Blues, a little bit of my family, just because everybody's from there on my wife's side. But when we were in the same division, we kind of had to not root for you. But now, since we're in separate divisions, we're like, yes, go Blues and go Blue Jackets. The ultimate thing that could ever happen in the world for both of us, if in our lifetime we could have the Blues versus the Blue Jacket in the Stanley Cup, I don't know. I think we just cry every game. We just get on the
family divided.
Yeah, it would just be, we'd be happy for each other no matter what eventually, But it'd be one of those things where you'd almost have to take okay, what's these games, and let's just take the time off of work and go be with each other for the whole whole seven game series, because I was hoping that would go 7 games. But
that would be awesome.
But I can't even imagine if the Blue Jackets, because I remember how emotional I was when the Buckeyes won their national championship in 2002. I mean, I'm crying and hugging strangers. I watched the game by myself in the stadium because, my buddies got different tickets and I refused to pay all the top dollars. And I waited and waited and waited and finally got a decent price ticket and went in by myself. But, you know me, I'm an extrovert, so I don't know a stranger. So the people I sat next to, they were my best friends during that game, Haven't talked to them since or ever since then. But that night we were one, right?
Mickey, I think Mickey's out in Kansas City, Missouri. No, you're in Kansas.
Kansas City, Kansas.
I can't remember if she's in Kansas or Missouri. Anyway, she's near Kansas City, and I have a feeling that the next time the NHL expands, I have a feeling Kansas City is going to get a team. I don't know why I think that, but I have a feeling it's going to be Kansas City. Yeah, she's in
What
Kansas.
are we up to with the new addition of Utah? What are we up to, 34?
So Utah was not an addition. Utah is the Phoenix Coyotes, so they moved up to Utah.
That's right.
So they haven't.
We'll expand again.
Oh yeah, they'll expand again. They want that money. Yeah. But I have a feeling, and I just thought I saw something fly across here. It's weird. So even paranormal stuff can happen on a sports show.
An orb.
Yeah. But hey man, I don't know what I was saying. Actually, I was thinking this a little bit earlier, and people in chat know BMR, Bigfoot Michigan Rob. He does a show actually here in about, what time is it? In about an hour, oh, in a half an hour almost. My dream next year, if this is still going, if this sports show is still going, so we need to keep this going. I want to have you on and BMR and talk about the Michigan Ohio State
Oh
game.
yeah, do it the week before the game or week of the game, yeah, and after. Do a
Yeah,
pre and
yeah,
post, yeah.
yeah,
We
yeah,
did that. We did that once with Ralph's show.
yeah.
We
That would
had
be.
Rick on
And Rick, yep.
and
But yeah,
that was
I want to get those two together. And hey, Denise, how you doing? And see how that goes. So that would be interesting. Oop, oop, nope, 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 nope. I hit the wrong button.
Well, look at you. I haven't seen you turn. You're getting a little gray there, buddy.
I am, and look at this.
I
It's
didn't know.
getting in
Well,
here.
I mean, the light's not helping you out any, but I
No,
haven't seen you in person for years. So
I know. So I think I mentioned this earlier today or before the show started that so Kyle is married to my wife's cousin.
right.
So
Your cousin-in-laws, you and I.
cousin-in-laws.
Yeah.
We just call each other brother from another mother. So
Yeah.
it's just easier to say cousin, say that than
Yeah.
cousin-in-law. So, but yeah. Well, brother, I appreciate you coming on. This
No
has
problem.
been
I
fun.
appreciate having this. Has been great.
Yeah.
Be
Yeah.
on after the national championship. We'll do this one more
Yeah.
time here just to make
Yeah.
sure that people understand that.
It would have been better if your hand
I
wouldn't have
get
disappeared.
to hoist it up.
Yeah. If you could figure out how to do that with two hands and hoist
Yeah.
that up, make
Yeah.
that go up.
I guess it's supposed to be at our local grocery store on Thursday and here in right up the street from my house. But
Oh, really?
I'm in class all day. So, but I think my class is right around the corner from that said grocery store. So I'm hoping to maybe slide over during lunch and maybe get a glimpse.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'm sure it won't be crowded at all.
Well, and it doesn't matter. One great thing about the Woody is the whole front end of the Woody Hayes practice facility is our trophy display area, and that's usually open to the public. Typically, especially like during downtimes and definitely on football game days, you can go in and just explore it. And then I've got the connections too, where if we want a private tour of the facility, I know enough people here that we can make that happen. So may do that before next season. Get my buddies together that live here locally and get that private tour of the stadium, because I've got someone who actually takes people on tours of the stadium, and then she could help us set up for the practice facility and get that behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
So.
And little Patty, you will see more of Kyle. He'll be on. Certainly, will be invited here as much as he wants to come on and talk some sports. So
yeah.
Real quick, Kyle, you have other projects going on. Why don't you tell everybody about what you have going on?
Well, I run two podcasts myself. I run the Elevate podcast, which is I'm a first responder. So I've been a paramedic for 20 years and have been in healthcare for almost 30 years. So I created about 8 months ago, I created a mental health podcast for first responders, because not too many first responders are striving for the help they need, and they need a safe place to go and listen to and hear different ideas of how to deal with our mental health, with the things that we see and the time away from our family and all the stuff that affects us as first responders. So I run that podcast, and it's on all major platforms, including YouTube. And I also have a podcast called Ignition Path Podcast, which is basically my business podcast, where I basically bring on entrepreneurs and talk about their path through entrepreneurship, and help promote their business and help teach them how to podcast to grow a business. And that's the ultimate thing I do as my side gig. Is I'm a podcast producer, and I'm podcast business success coach that I run 9 people's podcasts right now and help them utilize podcasting to grow their business. So
Nice.
That's my side gig.
Awesome. So make sure you go and check out Kyle's stuff.
Yep, you can look me up, Kyle Goodnight. You Google my last name, put the K in it. My last name is Good Knight in Shining Armor, so GOODKNIGHT. You Google me, I'm the first 55 pages of some sort. My website, my podcast, you even Google my name.
So
you even
unique.
search my name inside of Apple, you'll find all the different episodes I've been on and stuff. So.
Yeah, Awesome. Awesome. All right, guys. Well, thank you guys very much for tuning in to the first episode of Zanzibar. And as I mentioned before this morning, this is Zanzibar is the name of the bar that I have built in the basement here. And I had the bar on this morning. This time I have the backdrop, the back here. I think for this show, I'll have the more sporty looking background. So I'll keep it this way.
Well, I do have to do a little plug for Zanzibar. What was really weird is you and I knew that this was happening, and then today, a friend of mine was talking about they were talking about someplace in the world in Africa, and they said the word Zanzibar out loud because I think it's also a city or a country in Africa, right?
In Africa, yeah.
But then I said, oh my God, that is so weird that you said that name. And they're like, why? And I'm like, because I'm going to be on a podcast tonight called Zanzibar. And they're like, oh, like the Billy Joel song. I'm like, yes, exactly. That's what he named his bar after. It was the Billy Joel bar song. It was just so weird. Like I haven't heard that name. Like how weird is that? That's one of those paranormal things where somebody like completely talking about something completely different drops a word that is so unique like Zanzibar. And I'm going to be on a podcast called Zanzibar later that day. Weird.
Yeah, that is weird. And honestly, nothing surprises me anymore. I've had weird stuff happen to me since I started my paranormal show, and it's just be second nature. So
yeah, exactly. We're like, oh, that's that's this,
yeah, that is that. So anyway, everybody, stay tuned in about a half an hour over on BMR's channel. Going over there to check out BMR and Krista. They have Sir Brian Bowden on tonight at 8:00 Central Time. So everybody, I appreciate you guys coming in. Join me next Tuesday, or no, next. See, Mickey or Kim, I got your names wrong now. Kim, I had the date or the day wrong this morning. This morning I said it was Saturday. And now I'm saying next Tuesday. So next Saturday, we're going to have Jilly Maria on doing some readings for everybody. So make sure you come on in next Saturday, and we will see you then. Have a great week, everybody. And again, thanks for watching.
Go Bucks.
Go Blues.